I call it getting Nashville.
Oh, hey, Alice. Good timing. You walked in at a great time. I'm sitting here with Greg Freeman, Quiet Entertainer. We were just talking about Art Webb and his show tonight, which you're going to be late for, Alice, because this isn't. But you should follow us there anyway, because it's going to be a great time. And then also Quiet Entertainer Festival, August 10th. You don't want to miss that either, Alice. Oh, hey, Courtney's here. Good
Hi.
timing. We just started.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Good timing.
Everybody's here.
Yeah,
Alice
but
is here, Courtney's here.
so Quiet Entertainer Festival. Who do you have on the lineup this year?
I should, just to be completely thorough, this is like the Quiet Entertainer Festival. Okay. It's not a fit. It's more like a mini fest. It just happens to be on my birthday, gotcha. Which I did Quiet Entertainer Festival every year. But I wasn't calling it the festival. But to answer your question, it is myself. I am performing a DJ set. I'm going to have the full, just all the tricks and, and gadgets and all the bells and whistles, live visuals, all the things. I'm playing also with Chip Green, who's a kind of a blues rock band that plays around town. Also, Spoken Nerd is a rapper in town. I think he's been on. He sat down to talk with y'all, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, Nathan's great.
He's performing. He actually the first person to book me in town, and we played at Springwater.
Hell yeah!
Hey, the bar.
2007. Yeah. We played in 2007. It was my first time performing in Nashville, and he booked me. So had to get him on. Spy Machine also performing. A band of guys. They actually stopped playing music and then came out of retirement, kind of like This Is Art tonight. But they played at the end to come out of retirement, and I had to go to that. And I was like, y'all got to play my birthday if you're back to playing. And they were like, well, it was a one-time thing, but we'll play your birthday. So doing that. And then James Fate is another good friend, rapper in town. He's actually my roommate. And so he's up. I think I heard him practicing his set earlier. So he's performing, another longtime friend and collaborator who I've done a bunch of tracks with and shows with. So really great show. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is on my birthday, Wednesday, August 10. If you happen to see this before then, please
be there, be square. It's going to be fun. I'll be there, so I'll know if you're not, Alice. I'll know if I'll see you if you're not there. If you're not there, I'll know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it was 2007 when you moved here?
I moved here in 2006. Yes. Okay. So 2006. And then he was the only person I really knew when I moved here. I had a job here working for a record label, but outside of work, I didn't really know anybody besides him. I had met him on a tour when I lived in Illinois for a year and a half. He was touring through Chicago, and a friend of mine online, this is back in the MySpace days, he was like, you gotta go check out this rapper. He's coming through. He's gonna be through your area. And so I was living in Rockford, Illinois. I drove over to Chicago and I saw him playing in this little bar. And yeah, we hit it off. You know how it goes. You know how he is. So we hit it off and we stayed in touch. And when I moved here, it was, I didn't know what I wanted to do, or if I even had time outside of work to do anything. But he's one of those people and he knew I had wanted to DJ and kind of get into it. He was just like, hey, I need a DJ for my show, and you're gonna be it. And I was kind of forced into it, kind of non-consensual. But I wanted to do it, but I was just like, I'm not good yet. And I wasn't good, but we did it. We did it, and it was just like, great, this is great. And so then that was in summer of 2007, and he did another show at Springwater in November of 2007, and that was the show where I said, hey, I have a solo project that just existed on MySpace. I'd love to open for you and then also DJ your set. And so that was my first time performing as Quiet Entertainer at Springwater. So yeah.
Where's the name come
whole
from?
thing. Can you repeat that?
Where's the name Quiet Entertainer come from?
Oh, great question. The name Quiet Entertainer, there's the long version and the short version, but basically it was my AOL Instant Messenger name from the 90s.
Nice.
And
That's awesome.
so it was Instant Messenger and Hotmail. And so when I went to college, I went to MTSU, and they gave me a name. They gave me like an email address. It was my first email address, and it was like C0S65 something at MTSU. And I was just like, this is lame. I want an email address that people can remember. I need an online identity.
Yeah.
It's not doesn't have a bunch of numbers in it. And I was trying to think of a phrase that could just be my phrase, that this at whatever, that is just for me. And I came up with Quiet Entertainer. And the name just means, it was a reminder for myself to be humble and to let your art speak for itself.
Yeah.
Your art speaks for you. So I don't have to brag about how good it is. Just you do your thing, and then if it's good, it will speak for itself, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the name came from. It was my Hotmail account and my AOL Instant Messenger, my AIM name, and it kind of was that years before I ever did any music. That was just my online name. And then when I started doing music, I knew that I already had a name in place. And it was also kind of I was kind of shy about a lot of things, and that name just kind of fit me, and I kind of grew into it.
Well, I feel very special to be speaking with Quiet Entertainer, breaking your vow of silence.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, like I said, it wasn't meant to be a non-speaking thing.
Sure.
It was just
it's humble. Yeah,
the name. But it became a thing where I didn't have to talk. It was like an excuse to not have to talk to people or have to do anything.
Nice.
In social situations. If I felt awkward, I was like, well, I don't have to talk anyway. I'm the quiet guy. And when I moved here, those first shows at Springwater, I did the computer speech, Blue Man Group. Have you ever seen Blue Man Group perform one of their theater shows?
I've never seen them in person, but I've seen YouTube videos.
Okay, yeah. So if you ever see them, and I guess you can see this in YouTube, they Bluetooth. Why have they never done that? Yes,
right.
I should send that to them. They never talk, and if you're at their show, it's like they have a consciousness that speaks for them, or that I don't know if it's speaking for them or it's speaking to them. There's a narrator voice. And they're reacting and you looking at the crowd or whatever. And so it's you're speaking telepathically. And I was I love that idea. And so for those first shows, I would program stuff for the computer or my consciousness to say, and I would trigger it with a sampler. And so I would I'd plan things out to say, and I'd say it live with that. And that's how my first shows were. And that's what I'm doing. I did that since then, and it's kind of stuck. It was like, oh, he never talks, he does this thing. So it's, I painted myself into a corner, but it is it's been a fun exercise to figure out how to get the most bang for our buck without me having to say much.
Yeah. The switching gears a little bit. This is something I ask everyone. Do you have any, and I think it's important to note, first of all, that no one knows the answer, but do you have any intuitions or ideas about what happens to us after we die?
I don't know. I don't have any real answers. We have, everyone has their beliefs and their faiths, and
I guess no one has answers, but does one thing seem more likely than another to you?
more likely, no.
Okay.
Nothing seems more likely.
Fair enough. Yeah, completely.
What I hope happens is that we our spirits go to a lovely place, and that we can continue into a new phase of existence. And whatever it's a very, very religious question, but whatever that phase is for you, I hope that is where we go. And I hope it's awesome, and so on. But I don't know what's more likely. I don't think anyone can prove this. I just had a conversation with someone who was telling me that she has a new favorite artist because it's her goal to be reincarnated as this person. And I thought, how can you possibly know that that's what it is? But in my mind, is like, well, how can I possibly know that that's not what it is? So I don't I used to be a pastor. I don't know if you knew this. I used to work at a church, and I was a youth pastor.
Oh, okay, cool.
Before all this quiet entertainer Nashville stuff.
No, and yeah, that's awesome.
I used to do that, and I left that whole thing behind, because how can I prove any of this stuff? How can I? It's very personal and very much a thing that people figure it out on their own. I have my own beliefs and hopes, but they're just beliefs and hopes. I don't know. I'm really focused on how to squeeze the most out of our time here on earth. Before I focus on I don't know what's coming next. And I hope the next is awesome. And but I don't know.
I think the best answer I've probably gotten to that question is it doesn't matter, which is just so true. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect our day to day. It shouldn't affect how you live your life. You should treat people well, regardless if there's a reward or not, or a punishment. You should just. So I feel like that is my favorite answer I've heard, is it doesn't matter. But I still ask people because it's something that I think about a lot, and I guess talking to other people and hearing their views helps me, because it's something I hyper fixate on.
And on that subject, I want to know what the kindest thing somebody's ever said to you was. And it doesn't have to be like the most extreme or the most hyperbolic. It could be the simplest of things that they thought nothing of, but maybe it was just in that moment you needed it. Do you remember kindness from a stranger, a friend that just like stuck with you?
I want to answer that. Before I answer you, Courtney, I want to just point out I disagree with the idea that it doesn't matter. And
no, that's not what I meant.
The only reason
maybe they thought nothing of it. Maybe it didn't stick with them, but it did with you.
Sorry, I think we're getting our wires crossed. He's replying to what I was saying about life or
okay.
afterlife not mattering.
I want to make sure I answer that question, because I can't wait to give you that answer. I want to really think about, because you missed it, Courtney. We were talking before about words of affirmation. So all those things are very important, and I'd love to discuss that. But the idea that where we go doesn't matter, I don't think it doesn't matter in the phrase of because we're here now, but I think the idea of a reward for what we do, I think how we live and how we treat people and what we do on earth, I think does come with a reward, but that reward doesn't always happen in the next life. I think how we treat people and the energy that we create here on earth is its own reward. How we interact here today is its own reward. I think it's good to think about rewards for our behavior, because that's how we can spur ourselves on to good and better behavior. How the way that we interact here on this call, for instance, is its own reward. And it's something I'm training myself. Like I'm on a great streak of going to the gym, and the way I've been able to do that is to remind myself of the reward. And there's the future reward of like being fit and having better shape, but I also reward myself as like, if I get up and force myself to go to the gym, I'm going to reward myself with a YouTube binge session, and I'm going to binge pointless videos on YouTube, but I don't get to do that unless I go to the gym. And just the concept of future rewards, even if it's something in the next life, if someone is convinced there's a reward for how we live our life, and that's the thing that helps them stay on track, I think there's absolute value to that, and I can't shit on it. You know, I think that is absolutely, there is something that matters. Like that's, if it's not for you, then so be it. But there's real value in having a fixation. There's value in having a goal. There's value in having a reward in your mind that you're going to have, and working towards that can become just as valuable as the reward itself. And
I think I don't want to go down another rabbit hole because you got a question to answer, but I just think that's so true, because I think everybody tells us that you need to love yourself, which in essence is saying you need to have self-esteem, you need to have self-value, but nobody tells you how to. And just, having that said to you, especially in a moment of pain, can really knock you down more than it can lift you up. But what you're talking about really is self-efficacy, like proving to yourself that you're capable of doing something. When you do something that's difficult and you put in the work because of your goals, because of what you're passionate about, that is self-love, and self-efficacy is how you build self-esteem. So I just think that's so important. I just wanted to emphasize it ever so briefly.
Well, that might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. That's maybe
that's a cop out. I won't answer.
That just killing several birds with one stone,
right?
Which is horrible to think about. But
it's funny.
To answer your other question, the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, I've been very blessed to have a lot of nice things said to me over time. I'm very thankful for each one. The things that I remember the most, I don't think I could name one thing, but the things that resonate with me the most are when people tell me that they just something I said or did, or a conversation we had really meant something to them, or that they remembered it. Sometimes people remember things that I have forgotten, and I think for me, this is the year I started going to see a therapist for the first time. And one of the things that has come out is I'm really I've worked really hard to build legacy, I guess, or things that will be remembered when I'm gone. And the reason I've worked so hard on that is just a feeling of just like the life that I'm leading is not good enough or not um meaningful to people. And so when people come to me and say, hey, you know, I really enjoyed something that you did, or I really enjoyed this conversation that we had, and it's really stuck with me. That means so much because we do so much as people, but especially as a creative, we put so much of ourselves into our art or throwing a show or making a track, and you hope that it sticks with people, and not just because they like it, but you hope it sticks with them after you're done, or it's like a part of their day, that you hope that it's becomes a part of their life in some way. And that means so much to me because I put so much time and effort into, well, for instance, these shows, the Alex and I talked about this show that he saw, and I put a lot of time and effort into crafting that experience and wanting it to be high quality, wanted it to be worth someone's time, wanting it to be worth someone's money, wanting it to be something that would rip you away from the grip of Netflix, from the grip of your phone, to yank you and to put you right square in the present, and to enjoy yourself and enjoy the people around you, to be able to craft that experience and to be able to kind of author how you would receive that is so important to me. And when someone says, hey, I had a really great time at the show, or I remember this show you did like 5 years ago, blah, blah, blah. That means a lot. It means a lot. I don't know if it's the most, I don't want to rank these things, but those are the types of things that I remember that really stick with me. And I just think, man, I'm doing something right. Um, I'm really hitting it at a level that is great. Oh, okay, here it is. If this is, and now that I just said that, and I meant everything I just said, but now this is a thing. I wrote a whole blog about this thing that someone said to me. And here,
send us the link. We'll link it below.
here is the thing. I got to open for my hero, DJ Shadow. And I was just gushing and being a dribbling idiot and just falling over all my words. And I got to meet him, just this mythical creature that made, in my opinion, one of the greatest albums to ever be made. He was standing right there backstage at Marathon Music Works, and I got to talk to him. And I just asked, I didn't even know how to ask. I wanted to know, I wanted some wisdom. I wanted the stone tablets. I don't know what I wanted. I just wanted him to give me some advice on how to do this artist thing as a DJ, as a producer, as someone who makes electronic hip hop music that's not necessarily meant to be twerk music, not necessarily meant for people to dance, but just something that's just an expression of yourself and of your appreciation of music and history and just all of it. I wanted anything. I wanted all the things, trying to like get it from one conversation. And the man himself, he said to me, he's like, man, you know, if you got this gig, you must be doing something right.
Yeah.
And I thought, whoa, DJ Shadow said that I am doing something right. And I could like y'all can't tell me nothing about DJing from this day forward. Nobody. Like I will accept no criticism. No, I don't want to hear about I'm not as good as whoever. Like fuck all y'all. This guy said I'm doing it right. And I have that. No one can take that from me.
And that's really the attitude you got to have.
Thanks for asking, because sometimes I forget he said that. And I had to write, and I couldn't believe it. I remember all the smell. Like whenever I talk about it, I get the whole It all comes back again, like he just said it. Like I need to go back and read that.
It's incredible. I think you might have shared a memory of that show recently, and I saw that because you said it, and I was like, that's like deja vu.
Yes, because it happened. So again, I save all my best stuff. It just synergistically, I do all my best shows in August because it's around my birthday. And so this
That
was
Leo
around the
energy coming
time.
through.
Yeah, see, this was around the time when I was promoting that show. So the flyer just popped up in my Snapchat memories. And so I just reposted. Yeah, so that's a very recent repost I just did. But yes, that happened in August of 2017 was that show. And I just recently reposted that flyer. So I hope that is that a satisfactory answer to your question?
It is. And like for all the musicians out there, all the DJs, all the creatives who want the opportunity to work in tandem with their idol, like how did you get that gig, and what advice do you have for other creatives? It's dumb luck, isn't it? Dumb luck and hustle.
It's not dumb luck. It is hustle. I don't believe in dumb luck because people always ask me. So this is an ongoing conversation that I have often. People, there was a time when I believe you're gonna get like part of my philosophy that makes it. I think I'm really weird because of this. However, a lot of awesome stuff happens to me artistically, and I think it's because I have a certain ethos. And this is not, I don't even think this is bragging, because it's not like I'm crushing it. I'm not like making millions of dollars, but a lot of cool things happen. And I think it's just because I treat this like it's really important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For me, this is really, I really enjoy this. And these shows that I do are like a big deal to me. And I treat it like this the most important show that I'm ever gonna do. And when I talk to people about these things, these experiences, these moments in time, they're not just a show. It's like, hey, I'm playing a show. No, I am playing a show, and it is the event. It is the time. It is this moment that you can't miss. And if you miss this, what are we doing? What, like, what's that? Like, what are you, you're missing it? Why? What's gonna happen? What are you gonna do instead? Are you gonna be on your phone? Are you gonna watch Netflix? Like, what do we do? And like, that's how I think about these shows. And a lot of times I feel like people book shows just, hey, come out if you have time, if you get off work, come check me out. We're gonna play a show. And you gotta pay the cover, man. I know, just like, I don't know. If you feel like it, come on out. And then the way they talk about it is how they play the show. They get up there and they have their little beer and they're just drinking the beer and like, yeah, so what song are we gonna play next? I don't know, I guess we should play this one. Do you know that one? Hey, and they look back at their bandmates and they're like, you want to play this one? All right, yeah, whatever. And it's kind of like, and I get it, because it's like, it's punk, or it's not cool to like take this seriously.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I just roll out of bed and I just play and I don't give a fuck. And I feel like that's cool.
That's got to be like a persona they put on, though. They can't, like, it's a false sense of
it is. It is, right? It's like, yeah, I don't want you to think that I don't care about, I don't want you to think I care too much, because then when you don't show up to my show, it doesn't hurt as bad. You know what I mean? Like, but we all care about this, or we wouldn't do it.
And art is vulnerable. I think people should be vulnerable about, Like,
That's
yeah,
what I was
it
gonna
does
say.
hurt
You
if
can
you
have all
don't
the
make it out.
talent or skill in the world, but like people pay to see vulnerability. If people connect with art, whether or not they understand what you're doing on guitar or bass or keys or whatever, or whether or not they're lyricists, because they relate to human emotion, they relate to experience, they relate to authenticity, and that's what's going to hook the widest audience. Because absolutely people appreciate the musicianship time and time again. If you want to move people, you've got to be yourself, and you've got to be willing to be present and vulnerable. I'm so sorry, he's the worst.
I was approached by the booking person who worked at Marathon, and I don't know why he chose to ask me to open, but I believe it's because this is how I think about shows and performing and promoting shows, and this is what I bring each time I am booked. I believe each show I play is the most important show I'll do.
Yeah.
And that sounds so crazy, right? But I really believe that. And that's what I bring each time to a show, in my opinion.
Hey, Cordie, who are we just talking to that was telling us like you have to play each show like it's your last one?
Gosh, I'm not positive. Was that William James?
I don't remember. We were anyway.
Or was it Ryan?
The conversation we're having now. Sorry, the conversation we're having now reminds me of we had similar conversations a couple weeks ago. But yeah, man, like if you're not treating it like it's your best show, what are you doing? What are you doing? Every whether it's 5 people or 100, it's like you should be giving it your all every time. I feel like that sounds like you got the same mentality.
I don't know. It's just what I think. I don't know if it's right or even
Okay.
healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's healthy, but he said it himself. He's like, you must be doing something right because here you are. And I just thought, yeah, you know what? That's it. And it's funny. I'm so glad we're having this conversation because this keeps me from making an emotional look at me post on social media. I look at you know what, why not? Here's your rabbit hole exclusive. So I look at other gigs, other festivals and shows in town that involve DJs and producers. And I'm often not a part of these shows. And which is why it's how Quiet Entertainer Festival came to be. It's like, I'm not going to be a part of your festival, then I'll just book my own festival.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how we're going to do it. If that's what you want, then fine. That's how Quiet Entertainer Festival came to pass.
That's what's up.
And I look at they're not going to be offended because who cares what I have to say, I guess. But I look at coming up, and this is free promo, so you're welcome.
Thank you.
I look at Greenway Music Festival or Deep Tropics, but really it could be like any music festival that's happening in town and that I'm not booked or I'm not a part of. And I think, man, it's not like I quit. It's not like I'm no longer out here, but it's like all these names that I used to do shows with, like they're all still being asked to play and booked. And when I'm not asked, I just think, am I not was I not good enough to act? Like I didn't even get a chance to say no, I'm not available. I didn't even get it. So I these conversations remind me, no, it's not about being invited to the party. is about these moments that you create in time. Like, was it worth it to you? What did you give to your event? And I know that my events that I have some say over, I'm able to give that same attention to, where I would not be if I were just one of 50 names on a flyer.
Yeah.
To where everyone comes out and is a part of this thing. I know I wouldn't be able to do that at the level I'm at, have that same type of control. And so I'm thankful for that. And sometimes it's these conversations that remind me, oh yeah, this because I'm giving more per show.
So
hopefully. And that's what leads me to the idols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't know. Does that make sense? I feel like
I'm hearing you. Yeah,
talking.
I think that's really important, because like you said, you treat every show like it's your last. And, I even had a friend tell me that once. They were like, you could die in a car crash tomorrow.
True.
And like, that would be your next show. You could die in a car crash today. And, your last show would be your next show. And regardless, for every individual that's in the crowd for you, they paid the same amount to see you. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what that meant to them. Like Alex said, whether it's a crowd of 2 or whether it's a crowd of 50, like they all paid the same price to see you, and they deserve the experience of you giving them who you are, essentially.
I want to soften the language on this. I just for my own sake, I'm not treating every show like it's my last show. There's an important distinction. Every show is not my last show. Every show is my best show.
Okay.
Every show I'm going to play, the very next show I play is going to be my best one. And the show that I'm currently doing, when it's happening, this is my best show yet. Might not be my last one. I hope it leads to more.
Mm-hmm.
More
but
best shows.
This is going to be the best one that I've ever done. And there's a distinction. I think there's an important mental.
There absolutely is. That's kind of how I feel about songwriting. I never thought about it with shows, but that's you always have to be aspiring to more, pushing yourself to more, trying to be your greatest in every moment.
Yeah. If you think of it as your last, I don't know. I hope that each show is going to propel me to like the next thing. Like the reward. My reward for making this one my best is going to be, I'm going to get an even better.
Yeah.
We're going to have an even better show next time. I'm going to learn so much from this one, but the next one's going to be even better. It's just going to keep going. And I think that's the spirit might be the same, but I think there's an important mental shift that happens when you think about
it takes it from a loss mindset to an abundance mindset, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes.
So comparatively to like several generations ago, we have more tools available to us. Like obviously you make mostly or completely electronic music, so there's certain things available to us that weren't available in the past. And I guess the catch-22 to that is it's a lot harder now to build a discipline because we have all these distractions as well. So like, for example, my mom is an excellent piano player, and she tried to get me in on it as a kid, and I just didn't pick up the discipline. I do poetry and I write fantasy novels, but I never had the discipline to pick up an instrument. Do you have any advice for any young aspiring musicians about how to learn a discipline when there's so many bombarding distractions?
Yes. I have a bunch of thoughts on this, and I think that, and I'm going through this process all the time. as I try to learn more and more, I'm trying to create new disciplines. The things that I am finding that are helping me. Well, hold on, let me back up. The biggest advice I would say is to train your focus and eliminate distraction, right? Those are the two actionable things. And then also give yourself a reward.
Yeah.
That's the theme. That is kind of the theme of myself right now.
Right.
Is what's the reward? Like, what do you and a reward can be anything that you choose, anything that you give yourself for doing the hard thing.
Yeah.
Right now, like you said, technology is not our friend right now. And when it comes to building a discipline, we have a lot of tools that can help us, but ultimately our phones and technology has become these distraction machines, like endless, limitless distractions. And we're getting the reward. If you ever look at like dopamine and how phones and things are giving us or stimulating our reward centers in our brain, we are becoming addicted to the reward of clicking and the reward of swiping versus the reward of learning a skill, a reward of doing a difficult thing. And I think that's the number one thing that any of us have to overcome in order to build a habit right now. Musicians have to build a habit of practice, and practice is hard to do because the reward of practice is so far off, and the reward of a distraction or the reward of procrastination is so immediate. You have to learn how to overcome that.
Very well put.
Great.
I feel like you hit the nail on the head. That's it. Yeah. It's like the reward of being lazy is so much more, I guess, conceivably achievable than like this long-term investment with a like in-game reward.
Yeah. A reward that is more difficult to get is going to be a bigger payoff, but it's further away and it's harder. And you have to remember that reward. You have to give yourself smaller rewards for doing the difficult thing that will get you closer to being good at your craft. Like I said, I reward myself with YouTube binge. Like I give myself an hour of YouTube if I go to the gym for an hour. Like that's my rewards. Like I'm not allowed to look at YouTube unless I've been to the gym.
I think I'm gonna apply this to myself because I think you're making me realize that's my problem too. Is like I need to set better rewards for myself. Like, or I guess maybe smaller rewards, like not like huge grandiose things all the time, but just like you said, like a YouTube binge, or like if I'm gonna do that, like at least like do something to validate that, I guess.
Yeah. I think practice is so hard to do, and it's just like at the end of the day, oh, it sucked, or oh, it like I'm not any good, like what did I learn from that? And we're not able to see the immediate benefit. But if I open Instagram, I get an immediate, oh, I can click on the red dot and I get hopefully a message or a good comment or whatever. And that's how they hook you.
And the social, the all the phone stuff, it's getting so good at doing that. Like it's so optimized to attack your dopamine and reward receptors like that.
Yeah. Remember, there are, multi-million-dollar corporations and teams of people that sit around and think about how to keep you sitting there on your phone. And that's what we're up against. And a lot of times that's how serious it is. It's like, you have to treat it like there are teams of people trying to stop me from from practicing, from doing my thing. And like, I can be the hero of my own story.
Yeah.
If I just give myself 5 minutes a day, and you might not have, like, you don't even have to commit to, you know, months of practice. Just give yourself a small reward. Like, if I give myself 5 minutes of practice, then I win. Then I can go get, my favorite piece of candy or my favorite whatever. And I'd say that's the advice that I'm currently trying to implement to do all kinds of changes in my life. Because I'm always, oh, and this is the other thing, just have like a teachable student mindset or a curious mindset, instead of, it has to be this way that you learn. You might not understand how you're going to learn this thing. Like, if you have the goal in mind, like, hey, I want to, and I've been teaching people DJ stuff. I've started teaching people how to be a DJ, how to be an artist with the DJ craft, how to use technology to express yourself as a producer DJ. And
Nice.
one of the things I'm coming back to is find your goal, your reward, like your future self, and how can you get there? How many stops does it take along the way? And if someone's gotten there, if there's a tutorial, or if there's interviews, or if there's whatever of people that have taken that journey, don't be afraid to find out what they did. But a lot of times what they're going to say is, well, I did this, this, and this. That might not be your same path, but don't be afraid to take those steps to get there. And you might find, hey, I can get there this way, or this person went this way. I can go another path and still get there. As long as you're doing check-ins, it's like constantly looking at your Google Maps to make sure you're going the right way. There's lots of different ways for me to get to the end. As long as I check, on the way to go to this show later, as long as I keep checking and, constantly looking for the different mile markers and turnoffs, I can still get there. You might take longer or quicker.
Yeah.
Just keep checking in, give yourself a reward, and keep that reward in mind as you go. Don't get distracted.
Yeah, for sure.
I charge $400 a month for this. What's going on? I'm giving y'all so much.
Wait, are you a life coach? I mean,
It's I'm feeling good about it. This is a conversation.
Was music a big part of your upbringing? Was there music in the house growing up?
Yes. Ironically, no one in my family is musical exactly, but my dad had a bunch of vinyl, and he had a really great sound. He's always had great sound system. And it turned, I didn't know this. He used to be a DJ, like before I was like old enough to know what he was doing.
Okay.
So he always had like Radio Shack. He had these 2 turntables and a big tuner that had like all the TV and everything set up in it. So I was just used to dealing with sound equipment, and he had this huge vinyl collection, but I wasn't allowed to mess with it because I could break it. Like, needles easy to break.
Oh, sure.
If you were like messing with the record or whatever, you could break the needle and so on. So I didn't know how to do that. That's why I was so fascinated as I got older. It's like, I need a place to learn like the cool stuff. I can't do it at home, even though he has like all these records. And so I was just around it a lot. And I thought in order to be a DJ, you had to be on the radio. And so that's why I have such an immaculate voice. I've been studying to be a radio DJ since I was a young kid. I thought, oh, real DJs are on the radio. So, and actually the first time I heard a real, what I would consider a real DJ mix was on the radio. And I thought, that's what I want to learn how to do. How did they do that? And so I used to listen to K97 in Memphis, which is the hip hop R&B station in Memphis. And I would just listen for any type of mix, any type of remix. And then I would call in the station and just be on hold for hours trying to talk to the DJ, waiting on, you just take your requests and then you hang up and you couldn't have a conversation. I was like, I got to start talking to DJs. I need to know this before the internet. It's so easy now. I wish, not to be get off my lawn guy, but I wish I had all the technology and resources and access to people and information that everyone has now. It's so crazy to think about. But yeah, just me listening to the radio and recording. I used to take my dad's tuner system and make cassette tapes off the radio for people and record my favorite songs and put them together, like make my own little albums on cassette. And those were my first mixtapes.
Nice.
I have my first ever mixtape sitting around here somewhere. I have no way to play it. I don't have a cassette player anymore. But that's what I used. That's how it kind of started. And then when I was in college, I did college radio thinking that I was going to learn how to really DJ, but I just learned how to talk. And but I started making instrumental beds of music to talk over. I started like chopping up songs and taking out like the instrumental part or like the parts of songs where there were no singing. I would like look for those little sections of songs to talk, just for there to be music to talk over.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got started, like making, like editing songs and chopping up beats and making loops, and
that's what's up.
That's kind of how it began.
Okay.
I have no music training. I don't know theory or anything like that. And all the songs I've made up to this point is just me poking around the computer until it sounds good.
Hell yeah. That's like, I don't know, like you have to have fun with it. And it sounds like your method is really fun for you. Like you're able to do whatever you want. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you have that formal musical background, maybe you inadvertently stick in lanes and you don't explore or get experimental, because it's like, this is the formula, this is how you do it. There's, it's give and take, like people with formal musical backgrounds, like that helps them in some ways, like being able to read music and things like that. But like, the underground kind of like grassroots kind of thing too. Like there's a lot to be said for that kind of art.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said. I wish that I wish I did learn some theory, or I wish there were some things I had learned before I got going. It would be easier to articulate and express myself.
Like most, like
well, for instance, there's so many analogies that I could give you, but yeah, I feel like if I had learned real great scratching technique, I'd be better at it. And then I could express myself in a cleaner way when I do that. But it hasn't hurt me in making music. It's just, I wish I knew how to say this. It's kind of like if I spoke to you, if English were my second language, I would be trying to talk to you. And there would be certain words where, how do you say that? Like, I know what I want to say, and how do I get it to where you understand it better?
Yeah,
I can still communicate to you in a way that we can have a conversation, but I might not be able to really get across the point unless we're on the same.
It's like you're understanding what I'm saying, but are you understanding me?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Like, yes, that's a great way to put it. And so, yes, I think there is value in learning how music works
Yeah.
when you're trying to
Yeah.
speak, but it doesn't stop you from, like a child, when a child is trying to talk to you, it just uses whatever words it has in its vocabulary, and it doesn't worry about the exact word. It's just trying, like, whatever I have, I'm going to use it to explain this to you in
Yeah.
however way I can. And then as the child gets older, it learns better ways to explain things. And that's all. As I get more, as I keep going, I'm just always wishing I had more tools in the tool belt
I
of
gotcha.
articulation, but
Yeah.
it's
So,
not a roadblock,
yeah.
say.
Segue. Do you have any ghost stories or supernatural experiences that you would like to share? I guess things you can't explain that have happened.
I don't think I do. I was thinking about this today, actually, how sometimes things always work out in a really nice way for me, even though they shouldn't.
Hmm.
And I wonder sometimes what that is or what that means, or if it's I have religious upbringing. It's like, is that God just doing that, or is it something I'm doing on my own to like manifest or whatever? And I'm not
Yeah.
sure how that happens. I don't know how to harness that or whatever, but I guess my only weird story where something like that has happened, and this is a dumb story, but I'll tell it to you.
Thanks.
If you can decide if it's supernatural or not. But I used to go regularly to these church events, and they invite you. So imagine a church event where they invite you all there, and there's like a drama team there, and it's one of those um what's going to happen, speaking of earlier, like what's going to happen when you die, and it's like their interpretation
Okay.
of what is going to happen, and they give you like all these different like case studies of different people, how they live their life, and then what happens when they die. Okay, this was one of the can you picture this in your mind?
Yeah, I think I'm painting an image in my head. I was also raised really religiously, and I can't remember ever having like a drama like that, but we put on stage plays a lot. I was participated in a lot of those. So
Yeah, this
I can kind of visualize what you're saying. Yeah.
this was like a traveling show where the church, it didn't happen at my church. They like, this was they come to your city, and a bunch of churches take like their youth group
Okay.
to this church where this traveling team has shown up to perform this thing. And then afterward they have like this altar call so that you can go forward and keep the bad thing from happening to you, and make sure that you're on the right side of things, so to speak. um it's all seems so crazy now, but at the time, so this was when I was 18 years old, and in Murfreesboro, as a matter of fact. um I We all stood up after the skit, and there was like the little altar call, and I was there with my friend, and whatever, but we all keep our head bowed and all this stuff, so people who need to make a decision can go forward without you like gazing at them or whatever.
Yeah.
And someone tapped me on, and this was, I've been to a few of these, and I've definitely been to events where there are altar calls. And so what happened next is not normal. And so that's why I remember it. Someone tapped me on the shoulder. It was like, aren't you gonna go up there? And I just like, first of all, who's tapping me on the shoulder? Like, no. I'm like, mind your business. No, if I want to go up, and I'm trying to do this quietly. I was like, no, I'm not. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going up there. Like, mind your business. Who are you? Like, someone just tapping you. I'm not bothering anybody. Anyway, so I say no, and I'm bowing my head. I didn't even look. Like, who is this? Some adult person behind me thinks I should go up there. And after a few seconds, like, they're still playing a song, and I hear the tap again. Tap again. It's like, yeah, it's now or never. I was like, what? No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And then I was like, who's tapping me? And I turn around, and there's nobody there. I swear to you, there was no one there. And I turned Zeb, my friend Zeb, who still lives around here. I used to tell this story, and he couldn't believe, because he was standing around. I was like, did you see somebody behind me? And he's like, no, what? Like, you mean the person was tapping you? And he knew someone was tapping me, because I was like, no, I'm good. Like, leave me alone. I'm good. Thank you. And he's like, no, where was that? Someone was just there, right? And I was like, yeah, someone was just tapping me, trying to get me to go up. And they're like, now or never. Like, it was like a threat, like some Final Destination type stuff. So that happened to me when I was 18. So,
Wow.
But that's the most wild thing that I can't explain. Like, who was that? What happened? And yeah, I can't explain it. But that's the best one I got for you.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Like, I mean, that's wild. I mean, I definitely don't discount that at all. I've had some very life is bizarre. I've experienced plenty of that. Not what you're saying, but the bizarreness of reality. And it's like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, I don't think anyone does. We're all just, to one degree or another, we're all just bumbling around, doing the best we can, trying to figure things out. And not a single person on the planet has it figured out. I guess that's what being an adult is, though, is pretending that you kind of know what's going on. But everyone's just a child. We're all just on this rock, and we're all scared. And it's good to be with friends. It's good to do this. It's good to like have a scene. Like, I'm really I know for a fact, like, live music saved my life. Like what you do is really important. Like, people getting out and giving that, like, when I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and I was also homeschooled growing up. So I didn't have any peers outside of my church. So when I turned 18, I moved out, and I pretty much immediately started going to East Room, started going to the End, started going to these music videos, and that very quickly filled that void for me. Like, the community that we've built with each other, starting to tear up. It's just really important to me. Like, it saves lives for sure. I forgot where I was initially going with that, but I guess so transition. I
have another story about that.
No, go ahead, please.
I have another story about that, and this was last year. I went to see, actually, Spy Machine. Their lead singer has a solo project, Sam McLeod. He does music. It's kind of like dream pop type stuff, and I was just excited. He had moved away to Australia, and then like moved back. He's married with a kid now. moved back, and now he's doing music and booking shows, and he played at the 5 spot. And we after his set, we were standing around talking, and he was just talking about his family life and blah blah blah, doing music and so on. And I just made an off comment. It's like, man, and he's probably 10 years younger than me or something, some crazy number. And he was just talking about like what it's like to be a father now. And so he's writing songs with his kid in mind, and writing songs about his daughter and so on. And I just like, yeah, I'll probably never be a father. My kids are these songs that I play, and I'm trying to birth new ones or watch these songs grow up. I do new versions of older songs, like remixes. Those are like adult versions. They change over time, and like these songs are my kids. I'll probably never experience like fatherhood. And you probably seen, I get in these conversations and I'll just say stuff, and sometimes they're throwaway lines, but I mean them. I don't know. I didn't think anything other than that was going to come from that conversation. Later on that evening, I'm still at the show. I'm just hanging out, and I see this guy, and he's like, hey, can I just say something to you? And I just thought, oh, here we go. What is this? What's happening? But he's like, I just feel like you need this word. And I just want to say this. I feel like I'm supposed to say this to you. And I sure. And again, words are my love language. And so I'm open to it, but I was just like, what? This nut job is gonna say something crazy. What's gonna happen? He's just like, I'm supposed to say to you that you are like a father to this music scene. And what you do is important, and like people, like other musicians, look up to you, and you're like a father figure to them. He said this to me, and I just thought, what? where did that come from? He's like, I don't know. I'm supposed to tell you that though. And I just thought, and I didn't, I was so stunned. I didn't want to say like, do you know Sam? Like, have you talked to, like, did y'all get together on this? And anyway, like, why would, that's psycho. If so, like, why wouldn't he just, like, if he felt that way, why wouldn't he just say that to me himself instead of doing all this shit? It's completely. And I talked to him later. I like took a minute. I was just like, okay, I was like, I need to tell you that meant something to me, because here's a conversation I just had like right before you said that. And his mind was blown. He was like, oh wow, that's crazy. I had no, like, I just felt like I had a word from the Lord. I had to say this. And I was just like, all right, well, okay, so you're like a God person. I didn't even know what to say. I was like, okay, are you like, what is this? It's like, no, I'm not. I'm nobody. I do believe in God, but like, I'm not like a preacher or anything. Sometimes I get these nagging feelings and I have to say stuff. And if I don't, like, I won't be able to rest, or I won't be able to. And so, yeah, that is, that happened to me last year. I want to say it was like summer, like September of last year or something like that, at the 5 spot. We were just getting, whenever, I mean, I could probably look it up. There's a flyer somewhere for that show, but whenever the 5 spot was having shows and Sam played, that was that show. So crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. So I guess this is kind of, well, not really. I was gonna say this kind of related, but not at all. I used to ask people if they believed in aliens, and the problem with that is it's really hard to find someone who's like, no, there's definitely no life out there. Like pretty much everyone I've talked to has been like, well, I think it's borderline statistically impossible for there not to be some kind of life. So the question I've changed it to is, do you think extraterrestrials have interacted with Earth at all?
Define extraterrestrial.
So that'd be separate from like interdimensional, like something off this plane. I think personally, I think those things exist as well. We could call them spirits, we can call them whatever you want, but something outside this dimension. But I'm talking specifically about extraterrestrials, so things from other planets, things from outer space.
I don't interact with Earth.
Yeah.
You mean like changing something that's happening on Earth?
So like I don't necessarily think this is the case, but an example would be some people think pyramids have some kind of alien intervention. I'm not necessarily on that boat, but that would be an example of what I'm trying to say. Some interacting with human history in some way, or here today for that matter.
I don't know the answer to that.
Me either. Yeah.
You said something before about life after death. Does it matter? And I don't know about alien stuff. I feel like, or extraterrestrials interacting with Earth. It is something that probably matters. It's not something I focus on. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
It's about as far fetched as believing in like an in God. It's about as crazy as that. And I don't know the truth to it. I would, because I don't know, it would be crazy for me to say like, well, there's no way.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there's no way that's happened. It'd also be wild to say, yes, definitely, and I can prove it.
Sure.
Here's the proof.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's a question, right? There's not enough one way or the other. Like none of us know.
Yeah, I don't have it's not that's outside the scope of my research and expertise, so I can't.
I think that's totally a fair answer for sure. I guess to caveat that, what about interdimensional life? We can ghosts, alien or ghosts, demons, angels, spirits, whatever, elves, Djinn, whatever you want to call it, fairies, whatever you want to call it. What do you think about that?
I have an easier time believing that because of my upbringing, but I don't have, it's the same answer. I don't know, and I don't have
totally fair, man. Totally fair.
I don't have the knowledge or whatever to speak intelligently on it. I know the person that you should have on this interview to talk about this. I absolutely will have all kinds of things to say about it.
Okay.
And he is waiting to because this is the type of stuff he loves to talk about, and I just glaze over. I'm just like, this is not gonna help me
see this
thing that I want to do. So.
I feel like that is totally reasonable. I can completely understand that. But I have a really hard time not doing it, which is why I talk about it so much. Because like the big questions, I like there's something wrong with me, I guess, but I can't look at the small things. It's always big picture stuff, like bigger than I can possibly wrap my head around.
That's not wrong. You should, or should. I challenge you to soften the language on that. There's nothing wrong with you. You're a big picture thinker. And
thanks, man.
That's awesome. However, yeah, for me, and really all methods of thinking is like it's a muscle in your brain. You trained yourself to be able to think about those things quicker than about other things, and that there's nothing wrong with that.
I guess the only reason I say is like, which I agree with you. Like, I guess if I'm remove myself from it, but I guess the reason I think it's something wrong is it gives me a lot of anxiety. Like, try thinking about these things.
Yeah, how can it not? And
Yeah.
it's something that you have basically no control over.
Yeah.
It makes you feel pretty powerless, pretty helpless.
I will say I really appreciate you not you don't you're very careful with your words and you don't overstate yourself. I've noticed in this conversation, which I think is really cool. Like some people, it can be harmful to overstate. Like, I know this to be true, and then you tell that to people, and then they're like, well, then maybe they just take your word for it, and it's like that can be really dangerous. So I notice you're really careful with how you say things, and I appreciate that just as a person.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. Again, words is my, I don't know. When you listen a lot, I don't know. I found that, so the 5 love languages, words of affirmation, is both how I give and receive. I prefer to give and receive in words, but also being a self-proclaimed quiet person, you do a lot of listening. And I found that when you do that when you do speak, it means more.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, I want to make sure that I say this in the best way possible and the smoothest, cleanest way possible. And that's also like the radio training. Like, I need to say this in this many words. I have this many seconds to say this. And how are we going to do it? Also, as a former youth pastor, these are the types of conversations I was having a lot.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
And you have to like train yourself to listen first.
Yeah.
You have to train yourself. You're not trying to push a world. At least this was important for me for how I was going to do it. I was like, I'm a listener. I don't try to push a worldview. I take in information. I present ideas and questions for us to talk about, and then see where the conversation goes. I'm not trying to force you down like a debate person, arguer will try to lead you down this path to get you to this conclusion.
Yeah.
And then I win the conversation.
And that's not a conversation.
That's not exactly.
Yeah.
I've never wanted to do that. I've never been comfortable with that method of communication because it's not communication.
It sounds like dogmatism is what you're describing, like in my way or the highway.
Yeah, I have found that, and that's not just it's not just church people who do that.
Definitely not. Politics are the way too, like everything is that way.
Yeah, so I thanks for saying that. It's really important for me in any type of conversation to I don't know, not try to force you to think a certain way. I express how I feel, and if I don't have any feelings or thoughts about it, I say that. I don't try to pretend to think a certain way, and it has served me well so far, I think, but we'll see.
And thank you for actually taking the time to like think of answers to the questions me and Courtney asked you too, because like you could see like you wanted to like actually think about it and give a real answer, and I appreciate that. So
do people not do that?
It depends. It depends who I'm talking to. Yes and no.
Wow.
This will be episode 95, I think, when it goes up. So I guess I've been doing this for a minute now, and like it's varies. I get a lot of different answers on things, but that's why I do it. I particularly I'm not an argumentative person, but I also enjoy hearing perspectives that are different from mine, because that might sharpen me and might change the way I think about things for the positive, you know?
I you know, I was at a bar last night and a political discussion came up, and it was very one person felt one way and another person felt another way, and I was just kind of in the middle, wishing it would end, wishing it would stop. And the whole time I just thought, well, neither person's listening. Neither person, you have a canned response based on this trigger word, and this person, you decided ahead of time that this person doesn't even agree on this thing, and so you're not even really paying, like, you're not paying attention, and it wasn't a conversation. I just felt like just like a war of words, and I'm just like this innocent bystander. And then when one person left, some other people came over and they all agreed with each other, but then they started arguing, like, because they wanted to be heard. And that was like so much against like how I came up with even the name Quiet Entertainer in the first place. It was just like my desire to be heard and seen like this, like, is not as important to me as being at, expressing myself in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And maybe like a drunken argument isn't the best way to get this point across.
Sure.
I think, everyone thought about like maybe an online, Twitter war, comment war thread isn't the best way to really show what you're talking about, and like the name calling, and I don't know. I just hate, I do try to listen first before I say anything.
Yeah.
But also sometimes it's just like you're gauging, like, are they, what's the goal in them telling me this? Are they trying to convince me? That never works anyway. And it's like, do they just need to be heard? Like, does no one ever listen to them? Are they trying to just, they just got to get this out and then it's going to be over? It's like, are they making a point? Are they responding to something I said in the past? Are they reacting to something that's happening? Like, there's so many different goals in conversation. A lot of times there's nothing that you even have to say. Sometimes it's just like, okay, it's like rain in Tennessee. Like, you wait a few minutes and then it'll be over.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, well, that was that. And I just had to weather that.
Yeah. My goal is always to articulate myself in a way that the person I'm talking to can understand, and also to do my best to try to understand their point of view, never to try and convince them of my point of view. I think that's what a conversation is, instead of a debate, like you pointed out earlier.
Can you repeat that? You said your goal is never to convince, but it's to do what?
To make myself understood, to articulate my argument in such a way, or whatever I'm saying, in such a way that the person understands what I'm saying. But I really don't care if they agree with me or not, because that's not my place for them. Whether they agree with me or not is fine, as long as they're understanding what I'm saying and I'm understanding what they're saying.
Okay.
And I guess that's a personal truth, but
Yeah, nothing wrong with those are the best kinds of truths. Well,
Greg,
yeah.
I really appreciate you coming here, man. I know we both got to get going. We're both headed to the same place, so I'll see you when we get there.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you again. Quiet Entertainer, Alice. Do not miss him. August 10th. It's going to be a great show. Spoken Nerd. Who else?
Spoken Nerd, Chip Green, James Fate, Spy Machine, Quiet Entertainer. Wednesday, August 10th at the 5 spot. You do have to be 21 and up, but it's going to be a great one. It'll be the best show that I have done to date. Guaranteed.
Oh yeah, man. I will see you tonight, and I'll see you then. Alice, I will see you next week.
See y'all.